This week, we give you the inside scoop with some of the events that will be taking place during OBU's homecoming weekend.
We'll also fill you in on what some of the decisions made about the state questions on Tuesday's ballot means for Oklahoma. Stay tuned. Welcome and thank you for joining us for Shawnee News 30 this week. I'm Alyssa Speraza.
And I'm Hannah Lounsbury. For all you runners, athletes, and crazy running folks out there, there's still time to register for the 5th annual Bison Stampede race. The event takes place Saturday, November 12th at 7 a.m. on the OBU campus. There will be a 10K, 5K, and a 1-mile fun run or walk. You can register in the Rock, through November 11th to receive a t-shirt. You can also register the day of the race, but with no promises for one of those shirts. Proceeds benefit OBU students, faculty, and staff involved in global outreach trips this school year and next summer. So come out on Saturday morning and support OBU.
Tomorrow, Friday, November the 11th, will be the last day that OBU students can cast their votes for this year's homecoming court. To vote, you can go to their table in the GC. The winners will be announced during halftime of Saturday's football game.
If you're an OBU student living on campus and not going home for Thanksgiving, be sure to find somewhere to stay this holiday. Residence halls are closing for Thanksgiving at Oklahoma Baptist. They will be closed from November 22nd to the 26th, opening up on the 27th at noon. Only the on-campus apartments will be open during the break.
The Odyssey is an organization for aspiring writers, journalists, or simply anyone who wants to have a voice in their community. You can write articles about current events, blog posts, and all kinds of videos, ranging from simple vlogs or how-to videos. It's a great opportunity to share what you want to say to the world and a great way to make change in your community. Odyssey is currently looking for new writers, so if you're interested, go online and apply at theodysseyonline.com to sign up and start writing.
Coming up this Friday, November 11th, is OBU's annual Fine Arts Showcase. It will be located in Rayleigh Chapel's Potter Auditorium and is a part of OBU's many homecoming activities. Admission is free and anyone is invited to attend the show. Many of OBU's choirs, orchestras, and bands will be participating in the show, which will be dedicated to the Armed Forces for Veterans Day in appreciation of all they have done for our nation.
Tonight begins the annual Warren M. Angel College of Fine Arts Keyboard Academy at OBU. This 2-day in-depth piano study allows high school students to meet OBU instructors, attend a recital, visit a master class taught by a guest musician, spend the night with an OBU music major, and a host of other musical activities. Tonight's recital will feature guest artist Marina Lomazov, who has performed worldwide and holds the title of Ira McKissick Kosher Professor of Piano at the University of South Carolina, where she is founder and artist director of the Southeastern Piano Festival. All OBU students, as well as the general public, are invited to attend the master class. She will be teaching tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. For more information on the Keyboard Academy or the OBU Division of Music, visit www.okbu.edu/finearts or call 405-585-4301.
Oklahoma Baptist University will host a VEX robotics competition Saturday, December 3rd. Open to 6th through 12th grade students, VEX Robotics is the largest and fastest growing middle school and high school robotics program in the world, with more than 16,000 teams from 40 countries. It's sure to be an educational and entertaining time, so come out to OBU to support these students and their robots.
This year's OBU Recruitment Fair will take place Saturday the 12th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. during the midst of homecoming festivities. The event will be held in the lower GC and will have representatives from all kinds of student organizations, dorms, and school programs to give information to current and prospective students.
This following Monday, November 14th, there will be a mandatory housing meeting for all people living here on campus. Students living in both apartments and dormitories are required to attend. Speak with your resident director, RA, or CL for time and location, and tell them in advance if you can't attend the meeting.
This week is the last week you can see OBU's show, You Can't Take It With You. There's a show tonight at 7:30 p.m. as well as one on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. The very last show takes place on Sunday at 2:30, so come and see it at Shawnee Hall for a great time filled with lots of laughter.
When we come back, we'll take a look at the election results and what they mean for Oklahomans.
And put a spotlight on what the city is doing to tribute some of our veterans. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to News 30. Thanks for staying with us.
This year, Shawnee will celebrate Veterans Day at the newly renewed Veterans Memorial downtown. There'll be a ceremony honoring some of the brave men and women who fought for our country. Reporter Jason Berger spoke with one veteran about what Veterans Day means to him.
Should serve their country in one way or another.
This is Lieutenant Bob Ford, also known as Black Cat 2-1, a retired Shawnee native that wanted to serve the United States Army in the most brave and noble way possible.
And I said, Captain Schroeder, what would be the best way to serve my country? No matter what the danger, no matter what you might get into. And I knew he was going to say, be a platoon leader. I just knew it. And I was prepared for that. And he said, be a helicopter pilot. I hadn't thought about that. I said, really? He said, you bet, but be prepared.
Ford, who became an aircraft commander after just 6 weeks of active duty, survived over 1,000 missions flying above Vietnam, and is no stranger to combat action and the realities of war.
Time that we got into a problem, in other words, close contact with the enemy. Now when I say close, I'm talking about the enemies no further than the cars right there on Broadway Street. You know, we're going right in there, the muzzle flashes, you can hear them, they're all right there. And you make it, and then you say, hey, you got to go back. That's when it's tough, going back the second time, because they know you're there, we know they're there, and they know they want to get you just as bad as anything.
With the spirit of Veterans Day just around the corner, Bob Ford always makes sure to give credit to the brave men that kept him alive and always had his back, despite the fear of the enemy.
Every time you shoot at me, there's a muzzle flash. And my door gunners were so good. I even asked him the question, how many rounds does it take for you to get on a muzzle flash? He said, 3, sir. 3? He said, they're dead, sir. Yeah. That's how we lived.
Ford appreciated his fellow soldiers so much that even when combat took their lives, Ford says they never really left him. In fact, while running a marathon in California, he says he saw them cheering him on from a higher place.
I looked up, and there they were. There's Mackenzie and Dedrick right there, smiling. I said, okay, I'm going to run just a little bit more. And if you're still, and I even said this, you guys are still there, I know it's true. And so I ran just a little bit more and looked up and they were still there. I said, God, I said, thanks for coming, guys.
In his novel, Black Cat 2-1, Bob Ford recounts all of his adventures and missions from his tour in Vietnam, which was from 1967 to 1968. During that time, he was never wounded and lived to tell about his wild ride. If not for all the brave soldiers that helped Bob along the way, Veterans Day would not have the powerful meaning that it has today.
Even though Lieutenant Bob Ford no longer flies, his legacy lives on here in the Oklahoma Veterans Memorial here in downtown Shawnee. This Veterans Day, please take a moment to honor all the veterans that have served our country. I'm Jason Berger with Shawnee's News 30.
Following Veterans Day, there will be a flag retirement ceremony in Shawnee. In this ceremony, worn-out flags are burned and disposed of respectfully. It will be located in Woodlands Veterans Park on Saturday, November 12th at 4 p.m. Anyone can attend the event to honor retired veterans and the work they have done in serving our country.
And the fate of Shawnee Fire Station Number 2 has finally been decided. Earlier this year, the station unusable due to mold and water issues. Now, one member was not present for the vote. The Shawnee City Commissioner voted unanimously on Monday night to revive the building. Shawnee Fire Chief Drew Tischer, the plan is still in design phase and will be taking place in the next year. The plan as of right now is to strip the current building down and rebuild it, correcting the water and drainage issues that caused the building to be condemned. Tischer also said that this new plan will provide a building that should last at least for the next 40 years.
Taking a look at Oklahoma news, we have all of the results for those state questions you saw on your ballot, 2 of which have surprised many Oklahomans. Question 777, the right to farm, and question 779, the education tax increase, did not pass. There are, however, already movements to bring back both of these issues with some compromises for the 2018 ballot year.
However, Question 776 was one of the bills that passed this week in Oklahoma. Surprisingly, this bill was not only passed, but it passed with a 2/3 majority. This bill, nicknamed the Execution Bill, will legalize all methods of execution that are legal under the U.S. Constitution. This bill is meant to allow the state to find a safer alternative than the lethal injection previously used by Oklahoma. Lethal injections have a historically of working quickly or safely. All executions in the state of Oklahoma have currently been delayed until a better method could be found or lethal injection could be made more safe.
This election also brought about the passage of Bills 780 and 781. The two bills were written and meant to work in conjunction with one another. 780 will reclass some minor first offense drug charges to be misdemeanors with reduced sentencing, prescribing fines and rehabilitation instead of jail time. 781 will use the money collected from these drug fines to fund drug rehabilitation programs around the state of Oklahoma. Hopefully, these changes to the system will help to alleviate both addiction problems and prison overcrowding issues across the state.
One bill that definitely caught a few people by surprise was 792, or the Right to Sale bill. This bill passed allowing for any grocery or convenience store with a liquor license to sell wine and other high-proof alcohols. It also removes the time restrictions from when these substances can be sold. Supporters are hoping that this will help local breweries and stores to create jobs and increase revenue for the state, but only time will tell.
Going into national news, Emily Doe, the anonymous young woman who was assaulted by Stanford University student Brock Turner, has been honored as one of Glamour's Women of the Year. It was Emily's response to the attack rather than her victimization that earned her nationwide attention. Her court statement, which directly addressed impact of the assault, went viral and was read by 11 million people just 4 days later. It was read on CNN and on the floor of Congress. The impact was felt immediately. The state of California closed the loophole that allowed lighter sentences in assault cases where the victim is unconscious or intoxicated. In addition to being named a Woman of the Year, Glamour also published another statement written by Emily, with a message to other assault survivors to not lose hope.
Earlier this week, FBI Director James Comey announced that there would be no new charges brought against Hillary Clinton after they reviewed some of the emails from her private server. Comey said, while not everyone connected with the issue has been cleared, there was no direct information connecting Clinton to the issues at hand. These charges being dropped only 1 day before the election has many questioning if it cost Clinton the election.
After 3 bills and much discussion, legislation to help agencies modernize legacy IT systems is now up for approval by Congress. The legislation is known as the Modernizing Government Technology Act and would create a $3.1 million fund to let federal agencies replace their legacy systems. The bill will be addressed at Congress's next lame duck meeting when they return from recess. A proponent of the bill, Representative Gary Connolly, feels optimistic and expects it to pass.
The Federal Communications Commission has a new bill detailing new practices on internet service providers and how they can collect private data. Under the new rules, broadband providers will need permission from their customers to collect their private data for marketing purposes. Privacy groups are very happy with the new rules, but have criticism because the FCC has no power over web companies like Google and Facebook. This is the FCC's first move towards protecting the consumer's privacy against big communication companies.
President Barack Obama sat down with President-elect Donald Trump today in the Oval Office for what turned into a 90-minute meeting. This was an effort to symbolize the peaceful transition of power. This meeting happened in the midst of high political tension throughout the country after the election on Tuesday. However, both Obama and Trump reported the meeting went well, and both are working to unify the nation.
Stay with us, and when we come back, we'll join Jake Nelson for this week's weather.
It's time for this week's weather. I hear we might get a pretty stellar sight in the night sky this week. Is that right, Jake?
That's right, Hannah. On Monday night, we're going to get to experience what NASA is calling a supermoon. This means that the moon will be its closest it's been to Earth in nearly 70 years. And the supermoon won't happen again for another 18 years.
Now, how early am I going to have to get up to see this?
Okay. NASA is predicting that the moon will be its closest at 6:21 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
But it'll be worth it.
Oh yeah, I think it'll be worth it.
I'm not a morning person, but I might have to be that day.
I think you might. Well, we've been enjoying what started to feel like normal weather for this time of year, but many are still asking, when is the fall air moving in and when is it going to start getting cold? Well, it's not here quite yet, but we are seeing signs of it cooling down. Looking outside the studio right now, 60 degrees, and we hit a beautiful high of 70 degrees today with lows in the morning temperatures as we're coming up. Winds out of the south-southwest at around 7 miles per hour, and we're looking towards a wind in the mid to upper 40s tonight. Tomorrow we repeat the same kind of weather we had today, sunny with a high in the lows 70s with winds out of the north around 6 miles per hour, lows in the mid to upper 40s. Then looking ahead to your weekend, a few clouds moving in to give us some shade throughout the day, cooling us down a bit in the highs to mid to upper 60s for both Saturday and Sunday, lows in the low to mid 50s. And then those clouds part for us to be able to view the supermoon Monday morning. Then we warm up to the low to mid 70s for your high Monday and continue that trend throughout Wednesday, and sunny skies in the low to 40s and 50s. Then some rain chances move in around Thursday and Friday, highs remaining in the 70s. And now you're up to date with News 30's latest weather forecast. I'm Jake Nelson. After the break, Dakota Carrington with your sports update next.
Welcome back to Shawnee News 30. Here's Dakota Carrington with this week's sports update.
Well, so far this year, the Thunder are off to a very good start, only having 2 losses on the year, making their record 6-2 this year. They're in the first place in the Northwestern Division. Their 2 losses come from the one who shall not be named. Well, I guess I'll say it. Kevin Durant and the Golden State Warriors. And also took a depressing loss last night against the Toronto Raptors. So far on the year, Russell Westbrook has done nothing but amaze us and shock the world. Russell has 249 points, 66 rebounds, and 76 assists. Russ isn't the only one putting in work this year so far. His counterpart, unstoppable caveman Steven Adams, is also off to an amazing start with 86 points and 68 rebounds. The Thunder's next 3 games are tomorrow night against the fiery Los Angeles Clippers, Sunday against Orlando Magic, and finally the Detroit Pistons. This past weekend, the Dallas Cowboys were on the road in Cleveland, Ohio against the winless Cleveland Browns. This is a very special game to one emerging star, and that was Ezekiel Elliott. This is a very special homecoming for Zeke because the First Energy Stadium is only 2.5 hours from his alma mater, Ohio State. So far, Zeke has racked up 891 rushing yards, 155 receiving yards. If Zeke keeps up this pace, he's on track to not only break, but nearly pulverize Eric Dickerson's current rushing yard record, which is 1,808 yards. The Dallas Cowboys take on the Pittsburgh Steelers this week. The 2 teams met in the first regular season game of the inaugural season for the Dallas Cowboys in 1960, the first ever regular season for them. The Cowboys and Steelers later met in 3 Super Bowls, which the Steelers have a 2-1 lead. Needless to say, this should be a very exciting rivalry game for the 2 teams. And in case you missed it Tuesday, we have a new president-elect of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump. Sure, all the political things like foreign policy, military plan, education reform, and healthcare plans are important when getting to know the president-elect, but there's one thing that I believe trumps all when getting to know our new president-elect, and that is, who is his favorite sports teams? Well, we have those answers. For baseball, his favorite team is the New York Mets. For basketball, it is the Philadelphia 76ers, which is really surprising, being honest. And for football, it is the New York Giants. And that's all I have for sports. Back to you.
Thanks, Dakota. Last week, an adventurous spirit decided to try out zip lining at the famous Mall of America. While this isn't an uncommon experience for many tourists, this trip was particularly interesting. Peggy Gruner attempted this feat at the age of 93.
Peggy wanted to take the wild ride in order to check the item off of her bucket list. Her 2 sisters who were with her at the time called her an inspiration. We at News 30 can't help but agree, and we hope Peggy continues to show her youth. And now she's making me want to check some things off my bucket list. Thanks for joining us, guys, at Shawnee News 30 tonight. This is all we have for you this evening.
Remember, you can watch any of our shows and segments on YouTube at Shawnee News 30. We'll see you next week. I'm Hannah Lounsbury.
And I'm Alyssa Speraza. Thank you for watching and have a blessed week.